Many organisations keep chasing the big, obvious funds while missing the quieter local money that may suit them better. There's often money closer to home than people realise. When people say they can't find funding, that sometimes means they can't find the grants that suit their organisation or the local, lesser known grants. But for some of the most realistic funding, for a small charity, a community interest company, or a community project, it's often much closer to home. So the trouble is, local grants are not always beautifully signposted. They can be quieter, slightly less glamorous, and buried 3 clicks deep on a website that's designed what looks like 2008. So in this video, I want to show you where local grants often hide, because there's frequently money closer to your project than people realise. The first place to check is your local council. Now, councils vary enormously. Some have very little money, some have small grant schemes, some have ward budgets, community pots, or themed funds that open at certain times of the year. So look for terms like community grants, ward funding, neighbourhood funding, voluntary sector grants, or wellbeing funding. And in some areas, your local ward councillor may have their own budget. Admittedly, it's not massive, but it can potentially provide some extra activities or much needed equipment. Don't be afraid to speak to your local council team to find out more. Second, check your local community foundation. Community foundations are really important as a funding route and often overlooked by newer organisations. They may manage a range of funds from different donors and businesses, different donations, with different priorities and grant sizes. Some are very local and very practical and very small. Some are slightly more. Third, look at your local infrastructure organisations, and that could be a CVS, voluntary sector support organisation, or a local social enterprise networks. These organisations often know about funding before anyone else, and they share these opportunities in newsletter updates. Fourth, check housing associations. So some housing providers have community funds, resident engagement budgets, or neighbourhood improvement grants. And if your work connects to communities they serve, this can be very relevant. If you are a tenant of a housing association, then ask your local housing officers if there's any funding available or any support to find funding. Sometimes they have support when you're just starting a social enterprise or a business, so it's worth asking. Remember, if you don't ask, then you don't get. Fifth is local businesses and local charitable trust. And I know this is where people sometimes roll their eyes because it sounds a bit vague, but smaller local businesses, local family firms, maybe Rotary groups, local branches of national companies, and area-based charitable trusts can sometimes support very grounded community work. The trick is to do your research and find out which local businesses are likely to support your cause. Do you have a similar target audience, or can you offer something that enhances or promotes a business in some way? Do they have a personal interest, such as if the chief exec loves football, then they may sponsor your under-11s football team? You may not get enormous amounts, but smaller pots can still be extremely useful, particularly when you're first starting out. Number 6, keep your ears open through local networks. Honestly, some funding is found because somebody in the room says, "Have you spoken to so-and-so?" That's not a joke. All of my best leads come through relationships, local meetings, community partnerships, and sector conversations. And as I've said before, if you've watched some of my other videos, the importance of networks is not to be underestimated. Networks can be the source of really helpful information that can bring you funding. This is why I always say funding is not only a search task, it's also a relationship task. Now, a quick word of caution, do not assume that local means easy. You will still need to check the fit, the criteria, the eligibility, the deadlines, and what the fund is actually for. But local grants can be brilliant because they can be more connected to place, more accessible for smaller groups, and sometimes less overwhelming than huge national funds. So if you are trying to find funding, I would not only be asking what national grants are out there, I would also be asking what is available in our area that people are not talking about locally enough. This is often where the hidden opportunities are. So thank you for listening. If you found this useful, please subscribe to my channel for more updates on funding, contracts, and running a not-for-profit organisation. See you in the next one.